What if the moment you believe your life is finally beginning is the moment someone else's agenda is already in motion? I realized that the day I won $50 million. No shock, no smile, just a quiet adjustment inside my mind. 50 million. The board just changed. I assumed the money would secure my family. Instead, it exposed exactly who my family actually was. My name is Kamara Carter. I've gotten through life using one method: observe, adapt, endure. I don't dramatize. I don't panic. I convert information into action. That morning, my son Malik stacked blocks on the kitchen floor. The lottery ticket was stuck to a grocery receipt, something I bought because an older cashier said, "Take this. You look like someone who deserves a turn." I scanned it without expectation. 6 numbers aligned, matched perfectly. My reaction? Noted. I put the ticket in the inner pocket of my purse, zipped it, placed my hand over it once, then lifted Malik. "Let's go see your father." No emotion, just procedure. The ride to Darius's office was silent. Malik slept on my shoulder. Outside, people moved, cars passed, life continued. None of it required my attention. When I stepped into the building, something subtle felt off. Not dramatic, just a shift in air quality. A signal. The receptionist tried to smile. "Morning, Mrs. Carter. Here to see Mr. Carter?" "Yes." When I asked whether he had someone with him, her eyes flicked sideways, small but intentional. I didn't comment. Volunteered information is more accurate than forced explanations. I walked down the hallway to his office. Empty, silent, predictable. His door was cracked open. Darius doesn't do accidental. I approached with measured steps. Malik still asleep. I wasn't listening for cheating. I was listening for data. A soft giggle drifted through the door. Female. Relaxed. I identified the voice. Immediately. Amani, his assistant. Another giggle followed. Comfortable. Not new. Then Darius spoke. Low. Confident. "Don't worry, baby. Everything will be handled soon." Handled. An operational word. Not emotional. Amani whispered. "Does she know anything?" No reaction from me. Recognition only. Patterns tell more truth than people. Darius chuckled. Dismissive. Certain of his control. Kamara. She believes whatever I say. Incorrect, but predictable. Their voices moved together with ease. Too synchronized to be a recent pairing. They spoke like people who had rehearsed this. Then Amani asked, "And your plan? It's still on track?" Plan. Not accident, not mistake. Plan. I shifted half an inch toward the door. Not curiosity, precision. Darius exhaled calmly. She's already walking into it. She just doesn't know yet. The sentence landed exactly as intended. Not emotionally, but structurally. A clear outline of intent. This wasn't infidelity. It was architecture. A designed outcome with me placed as the unaware variable. Except I wasn't unaware. Not anymore. I stepped back from the door quietly. Emotion is a luxury. Strategy is survival. I walked the hallway calm and steady. Malik balanced against me. The receptionist blinked. "Mrs. Carter, he didn't see you?" I remembered something. "I'll return later." I left without answering her confusion. Outside, the air was sharper, useful, clarifying. My hand rested on the purse pocket containing the ticket. $50 million. Leverage, not luck. Darius had a plan for me, a concealed one, but he miscalculated one critical variable: me. He believed I was predictable. He believed I was uninformed. He believed I was still the woman who ignored small warnings. He was wrong on all counts. As I walked away, everything arranged itself cleanly in my mind. If he built a trap, he built it too early and with the wrong woman in mind. And what he planned wasn't simply betrayal. It was something colder. I didn't go home immediately. Home requires stability. I needed data. I walked 3 blocks with Malik asleep against my shoulder, giving my mind space to arrange what I'd heard. Not emotionally, logically. Darius wasn't cheating. He was executing. Cheating is impulsive. Planning is intentional. I reached a small park and sat on a bench, with Malik still resting against me. The world moved. It wasn't relevant. I replayed the conversation behind the office door, isolating each signal. Everything will be handled soon. Handled meant sequence. She doesn't know yet. Yet meant active timeline. He wasn't waiting for something. He had already begun. Malik's small hand gripped my shirt. Instinctive trust. My responsibility. I checked the purse pocket. The ticket was exactly where it should be. Flat, warm, untouched. This piece of paper shifted advantage. The only question was how soon I needed to use it. I stood and walked toward home. Steady, controlled. One question remained. Why a plan? People plan when outcomes matter, and someone stands in their way. People plan when exposure is dangerous. Whatever Darius was preparing wasn't infidelity. It was structural. When I reached home, I placed Malik in his bed, closed the door halfway, and sat at the kitchen table. The chair across from me was his. Empty. Predictable. I removed the ticket. Didn't unfold it. Unnecessary. Instead, I evaluated scenarios. If Darius learned about the money, would he want access to it? Yes. Would he mask it as concern? Yes. Would he attempt to position himself legally above me? Highly probable. I called the lottery office, not to claim, to clarify mechanics. What do you need to verify a ticket? What identification is required? When does it expire? Is disclosure mandatory? What security measures do you recommend? They answered. I stored everything. The ticket went back into the purse. Then I waited. 2 hours later, the front door opened. Darius entered with his usual calibrated calm, the confidence of someone whose environment bends for him. He kissed Malik's head on the way in, a performance flourish. He stepped into the kitchen and smiled at me. Hey, babe, you look tired. Tone, soft. Intent, measured. I didn't answer instantly. His shoulders tightened a fraction, noting resistance. I went to see you today. He kept the smile, but a small tension formed at his jaw. Oh, I must have stepped out for a meeting. False. Efficient. Your receptionist said you were in. A blink. Must have been a mix-up. His lies stayed vague. Deliberate lack of detail. What did you need? The delay before the question was calculated. Nothing urgent. He eased back into his posture. He believed the threat had passed. He shifted the topic. How was your morning? Normal. He didn't describe his. He avoided detail with precision. He talked about work, clients, schedules, tasks. But beneath the conversation, he monitored my reactions the way someone checks temperature. Not engagement, assessment. When he finished, he kissed my head, a controlled gesture. I'll shower. He walked away. I listened to every step. The shower turned on, pressure slightly higher, his tail when stressed. I waited for the sound of the shower door before moving. In his home office, I checked drawers with methodical speed. Top drawer, standard. Next, predictable. Third, locked. He had never locked anything before. The lock was recently added. Cheap, reactive. Water droplets dotted the handle. He opened it right before showering. Unusual timing. A faint trace of Amani's perfume clung to the desk edge. Transferred, not deliberate. Footsteps, wet. approaching. I closed everything smoothly and stepped away just before he entered. He walked in with a towel around his waist, drying his hair. His eyes scanned the room. Not suspicious, just cataloging. "Looking for something?" he asked. "No." He watched me a beat longer than usual. Evaluation, not concern. Then nodded and walked past. The drawer mattered. Not because it existed, because of its timing. After dressing, he made dinner. Every motion controlled. His entire routine tightened. People without secrets move freely. People running a plan move carefully. He talked lightly, laughed on cue, placed each gesture exactly where it belonged. But his presence was measured. His eyes tracked my reactions in intervals, waiting, not for connection, for signal. After Malik was asleep, Darius joined me in bed. He rested his hand on my hip. "I love you," he said. The sentence was gentle. The intent was hollow. I didn't respond. He didn't try again. He simply turned away, confirming it wasn't affection, it was assessment. He fell asleep quickly, breathing steady, predictable. I watched him for a minute. He had a timeline. He had a structure. He believed I was walking into it. He underestimated the one variable he couldn't measure, me. Tomorrow, I would open that drawer, not to search, to confirm. And if it held what I suspected, Darius wouldn't be the one executing a plan anymore. The next move wouldn't be his. I waited until Darius left for work the next morning. He woke up at his usual time. He showered at his usual temperature. He dressed in his usual order: shirt, deodorant, left sock, right sock, belt. Consistency isn't comfort. Consistency is a mask. He kissed Malik's forehead before leaving. He kissed mine too. Both gestures identical in timing and pressure. He said, "I'll see you tonight." I said nothing. He didn't ask why. A man running a plan only scans for obstacles, not feelings. The moment the door closed behind him, the house shifted. Not emotionally, practically. Noise is vulnerability. Silence is access. I walked to his office without hesitation. The locked drawer was exactly where I left it. I analyzed it again before touching anything. Position, orientation, edges, dust pattern, alignment with the desk frame. Nothing had moved. I picked the lock. Not slowly, efficiently. Locks like these aren't barriers, they're warnings. The drawer opened with a quiet click. Inside, I saw 3 items: a folder, a set of keys, and an envelope with my name on it. Not written, printed. Print removes emotion, print removes handwriting, print removes identity. I opened the folder first. It contained documents, not random, not scattered, structured. Bank statements, insurance forms, property records. All with my name highlighted. Not his. Mine. He had created duplicates of accounts we shared. He had gathered statements from accounts I didn't know existed. He had printed out life insurance details. Mine, not his. Every document was arranged chronologically. Intentional sequence. The insurance forms were the most telling. Increase in value, beneficiary, unchanged, dated last month. He had increased my policy. He had not informed me. People don't increase policies for those they plan to keep. I read every page twice, then a third time. Not for emotion, for accuracy. Next, I opened the envelope with my name. Inside was a typed letter. Short, efficient, cold. Kamara, this is to acknowledge that you agreed to transfer all marital assets into joint management for financial stability. Signed, Kamara Carter. At the bottom was a signature. My signature. Except it wasn't mine. It was a forgery. Accurate enough for someone who doesn't look closely, weak enough for someone who does. Decision points aligned. He forged legal consent. He increased my insurance value. He consolidated access to accounts. He began transferring balances. This wasn't betrayal. It was premeditation. I placed the letter down slowly. Then I opened a third item, the keys. There were two, one small, one longer, both labeled with numbers, not names. Keys without labels mean hidden locations. I sat back in the chair, absorbing the full structure. Darius wasn't planning to leave me. He wasn't planning to divorce me. He wasn't planning to run off with Amani. He was planning to eliminate me, financially, legally, and possibly physically. This wasn't suspicion. It was evidence. I closed the drawer, leaving no disturbance in dust or alignment. Then I checked the rest of his office with the same precision. Behind the books, inside the cabinet, under his laptop case, in the box of old receipts. Nothing matched the importance of the drawer. The house remained silent. Malik was still asleep. I returned to the kitchen and sat at the table again, placing the envelope, folder, and keys in front of me. I reviewed the forged signature once more. It wasn't the style of my handwriting. It wasn't the flow of my letters. It wasn't the angle of my strokes. Darius didn't think I would notice because he didn't think I would ever see it. He believed his timeline was ahead of me. He believed ignorance equals delay. He believed I was still the woman who accepted explanations without verification. He believed incorrectly. I placed everything back in the drawer exactly as I found it, locked it, and tested it once to ensure the tension was identical. Then I left the office. Not hurried, not shaken, just focused. When Malik woke up, he called "Mommy" in a soft voice. I lifted him, held him, and made breakfast with the same routine as always. Stability is a shield. After breakfast, I texted Darius. "Do you need anything from the store?" A normal text, a controlled text, an expected text. He replied with, "Just snacks for Malik. Love you." He sent a heart emoji after it. Affection is camouflage. Patterns reveal intent. I didn't respond. I took Malik to daycare, kissed his head, and watched him join the other children. He was safe. That mattered first. Then I got back in the car and drove to the bank, not to confront anyone, to observe. Darius had visited last week. I knew because the statements inside the drawer were printed the same day he went. I approached the teller with calm, polite neutrality. "I need to check recent activity on my personal savings account," I said. She asked for ID. I gave it. She typed, paused, typed again. Then her expression shifted, a small flicker, confusion, mixed with protocol. "Mrs. Carter, there's a note here saying your husband requested temporary joint access. Expected, not alarming." "And?" I said. She lowered her voice. "There was also a request to freeze your individual withdrawals for security verification. Unacceptable. Predictable." "Did I make that request?" I asked. "No," she said. "Your husband said you had approved it verbally." I let silence sit for 2 seconds. Then, "I didn't." She swallowed. "I can unfreeze the account immediately," she said, "but I'll need your signature." "My actual signature," I replied. Her eyes widened a little. She didn't ask questions. I signed the form. The freeze was lifted. Then I asked a new question. "Has anyone requested copies of my statements recently?" She checked. 3 days ago, the same day as the forged letter. Who requested them? I asked. She hesitated. Then, it was picked up physically. Someone signed for it. Who signed? I asked. She turned the paper to me. A signature, not mine. The same forged version. I looked at it calmly. Print a copy, I said. She did. I walked out of the bank with the document in my purse, not shaken, just informed. Outside, the air was clear, unsentimental, useful. Everything now aligned. Darius forged my signature. He froze my withdrawals. He accessed my statements. He altered our policies. He collected documents in sequence. He organized everything in a locked drawer. He believed I wouldn't see it. His plan had steps. His steps had timing. His timing was accelerating. And he wasn't doing this alone. No man becomes this bold without someone advising him. Amani wasn't just a mistress. She was an accomplice, and possibly not the only one. The keys in his drawer were the next step. One small key, one longer key, 2 unknown locks, 2 unknown locations, 2 answers he never wanted me to have. As I stood by my car, holding the paper with the forged signature, one thought formed with absolute clarity. The danger wasn't coming. It was already here. I drove home from the bank without turning on the radio. Noise disrupts analysis. By the time I parked in our driveway, the structure of Darius's plan was clearer. He wasn't improvising. He wasn't reacting. He wasn't afraid. He was preparing. And he believed he still had time. He didn't know time had shifted. After putting the forged signature and bank printout in my purse, I sat at the kitchen table again and reviewed the 2 keys from the drawer. The smaller key was simple. Cut edges, cheap metal, likely a lockbox or a storage drawer, not a door. The longer key was heavier, industrial, rough grip, older design. Not for anything in this house, not for anything recent. Keys are instructions. They tell you what matters. Darius kept these 2 hidden for a reason. I opened my laptop, not to search for answers, to confirm patterns. He had 2 meetings today, both out of the office, both scheduled unusually early, both with vague descriptions like client adjustment and financial review. Vague descriptions are deliberate. At 9:43 a.m., I left the house, locked the door, and drove toward the address printed on one of his insurance forms. Not the insurance office, the agent's name. People rarely hide plans alone. Cooperation requires signals. The office was small, 1 door, frosted windows, neutral signage. I walked inside. A receptionist nodded politely. "Good morning. How can I help you?" "I need to review a policy," I said. "Whose policy?" "Mine." She asked for ID. I handed it over. She scanned it, typed something, and her expression changed. Not alarm, protocol. "Your agent is in," she said. "I'll let him know." She disappeared behind a door. 30 seconds passed, 40. Then a man stepped out, mid-40s. Neat shirt, too calm. "Mrs. Carter, I didn't expect you." People say that when they expect you, just not this soon. "I need to confirm recent changes," I replied. He nodded slowly. "Let's sit in my office." Neutral tone, no warmth, no surprise. I followed him inside. Before he could speak, I asked, why was my policy increased without my written authorization? He hesitated. 2 seconds too long. your husband indicated, I didn't ask about him. He adjusted his tie. A stall. Mrs. Carter, the changes were submitted by your husband. He said you approved them verbally. Verbal authorization doesn't apply to insurance increases. He knew that. Darius knew that. And they did it anyway. I said nothing. Silence forces people to fill the space with information. He continued. He said you were recovering from a minor surgery and couldn't sign immediately. He assured us paperwork would follow. No surgery existed. The lie was specific. Specific lies carry instruction. I asked, what else did he change? He blinked. The payout structure and the beneficiary. Name? He swallowed. Darius Carter. Expected. Not surprising. And when was this submitted? I asked. He checked the screen. 3 weeks ago. Earlier than the bank activity, meaning the plan started before the affair became active or before he was careless enough to expose it. Print everything, I said. He did. I didn't thank him. I didn't accuse him. He was irrelevant. The plan was bigger than him. I walked out with the documents. Outside, the air was cold and direct. Useful. Back in the car, I studied the papers carefully. Payout doubled. Terms altered. Beneficiary unchanged. Effective immediately. He wanted access. He wanted speed. He wanted finality. I looked at the smaller key again. It didn't match anything here. That meant something else was next. I drove to a storage facility, the address listed on a separate printed document in the folder. The building was older, metal, functional. The manager glanced up as I answered. I need access to Unit 12B, I said. Name, Kamara Carter. He checked his screen. Yes, that unit is under your name. My name, not his. Controlled misdirection. Do you have the key? He asked. I showed him the small key. He nodded. That's the one. He handed me a clipboard to sign. I signed. My signature, not the forged one. He buzzed me through. The hallway smelled like metal and dust. Rows of doors. No movement. I walked to 12B and inserted the small key. It fit. The lock opened smoothly. Recently used. Inside was a single box. Cardboard. Closed. Nothing else. I locked the door behind me and opened the box. Inside, copies of my medical records, photographs of me entering and leaving places, GPS logs, screenshots of my phone location history, printouts of my emails, a schedule of my daily movements, a diagram of my weekly routine, color-coded, a second envelope with my name. Everything organized, everything timed, everything analyzed. This wasn't emotional. This was logistical. Darius was mapping my life, not for curiosity, but for accuracy. The envelope contained one paper, a schedule of expected absence. Projected, Kamara out of home for 2 hours on Tuesday, 10:15 to 12:15 p.m. This wasn't guesswork. This was prediction, a preparation window. I checked the date. Tomorrow. He wasn't planning eventually. He was planning imminently. I placed everything back into the box exactly as I found it and locked the storage unit. Outside, the air wasn't cold. It was alert. The larger key remained. Older design. Heavy metal. Meant for something built before digital systems existed. I drove back toward home, but didn't go inside. I parked at the edge of the neighborhood and thought. Darius had mapped my schedule, duplicated my documents, altered my policies, forged my signature, frozen my accounts, collaborated with Amani, prepared physical evidence, scheduled a window. He didn't want a divorce. He didn't want distance. He didn't want me gone temporarily. He wanted me erased. The larger key wasn't for storage. It wasn't for a drawer. It was for a door, an old door, an isolated door, a door meant to lock from the outside. I didn't drive home. Home wasn't safe. Home was monitored. Home was part of the plan. Instead, I parked in a grocery store lot, rolled down the window just enough for air, and studied the larger key again. Older design, heavy, industrial, not for anything convenient. Keys like this belong to buildings that predate renovations, locked places no one visits, spaces people forget. I checked the time, 10:52 a.m. Darius's scheduled meetings would keep him occupied for at least 2 hours. He believed I was at home. He believed I wouldn't disrupt routine. He believed his schedule controlled mine. Predictions are only effective when variables behave predictably. I didn't. I pulled out the box of documents from the storage unit and rechecked the paper listing my projected absence time tomorrow, 10:15 a.m. to 12:15 p.m. 2 hours. Enough time for something irreversible. The schedule wasn't random. It was algorithmic, based on my patterns. If someone wanted to stage an accident, a disappearance, or a time-stamped event, this was the window. I put the box back exactly where it belonged, locked inside 12B, and left the building without engaging the manager again. The larger key was next. I drove toward the industrial district on the far side of town, an area where older buildings still used manual locks. Warehouses, workshops, abandoned units bought cheaply, unlisted rentals, temporary spaces, places where no one asks questions. I searched for locations associated with Darius. His company once rented a warehouse here 3 years ago. A tax write-off, a failed project, a forgotten address. Except people like Darius don't forget assets. They repurpose them. I pulled into the cracked parking lot of Warehouse 7L. The building was large, metal-sided, faded red paint. 2 windows, both blacked out. No security cameras. Too empty to be abandoned. I stepped out of the car with the key in my pocket and walked toward the door. The lock matched the key. Same metal, same age, same wear pattern. I inserted the key. It turned with no resistance. Used recently. The door opened. Inside was darkness. I didn't turn on the light immediately. My eyes adjusted first. The air was thick, stale, undisturbed, but not untouched. I walked deeper inside and flipped the light switch. The room lit up with a dim buzz. The table had documents on it. Not random, arranged. I approached with controlled steps and examined the top sheet. It was a printed schedule. My schedule. The same one from the storage unit, but updated. This one included tomorrow's 2-hour absence window and a new line underneath. Post-event cleanup, 1 p.m. Event, not task. Event. Cleanup. Cleanup implies aftermath. Aftermath implies expectation of something that needs removing. Next, I looked at the second page. It was a printed map of a wooded area 20 minutes from here, circled in red. The third page, a checklist. Shovel, gloves, bleach, plastic sheeting, rope. None of these items were in the room, meaning he had moved them already. The drawer at the bottom of the cabinet caught my attention. I crouched, opened it. Inside was a burner phone, unused, charged, ready. I tapped the screen. One text draft was saved. Call me when it's done. Not sent, not deleted. Waiting. I checked the outgoing call log. No calls. Incoming? None. But the draft wasn't the important part. The important part was the contact name the draft was addressed to. Amani. Not a surprise, a confirmation. The burner phone wasn't his. It was theirs. This wasn't an affair. This was a joint operation. I stood slowly. Nothing in the warehouse surprised me. This wasn't emotional discovery. It was a sequence of expected confirmations. Every clue aligned into a single conclusion. Tomorrow, between 10:15 a.m. and 12:15 p.m., Darius and Amani intended to stage a disappearance. Mine. Not violent in appearance. Not chaotic. Clean. Structured. Silent. No evidence. No witnesses. A pre-written narrative. A 2-hour window was enough to take someone or to ensure no one questioned why they were missing. I stepped away from the documents and crossed the room to the far wall. There was a second door. Smaller. Reinforced. No windows. The larger key didn't match this lock. This one used the code. A keypad. Electronic. Unexpected. The combination of manual and electronic locks told me something. This building had been modified intentionally, not abandoned, repurposed. I examined the keypad. 4 digits. People choose codes based on familiarity. Birth year, anniversary, child's birthday. I entered Malik's birthday. Incorrect. I entered our anniversary. Incorrect. I entered Darius' birth year. The lock clicked. I opened the door. Inside was a second room. Smaller, darker, purpose-built. A single chair bolted to the floor. A camera mounted in the corner. A drain in the center of the concrete. A metal shelf. Empty hooks on the wall. No tools. No equipment. Everything had been removed recently, within the last week. The dust patterns told me that. The clean, square outlines where objects used to sit confirmed it. This room wasn't for storage. It was for containment. But not anymore. It had already served its purpose, or was being prepared to. I stepped outside the room and closed the door quietly. The camera was new. No dust. I didn't touch it. A camera records for someone, not Darius. Someone else. Whoever that someone was, they weren't sloppy. They knew placement. They knew angles. They knew how to avoid trace evidence. Darius wasn't the architect of this. He was the participant. He had a partner beyond Amani, someone capable, someone who understood systems, someone who understood risk. This plan wasn't small. It wasn't personal. It was organized, and it had multiple layers. I switched off the lights, stepped out of the warehouse, locked the door, and walked to my car with the same calm I'd carried since yesterday. I didn't panic. I didn't tremble. I didn't rush. Panic is noise. Noise is exposure. Information is advantage. Advantage is control. I sat in the driver's seat and closed the door gently. Darius had planned tomorrow carefully. He believed he had the perfect window. He believed he controlled the narrative. He believed the outcome was predetermined. He was wrong. Tomorrow wouldn't be his window. Tomorrow would be mine. I woke up the next morning before my alarm. The house was quiet. The plan was loud. Darius's window was set, 10:15 a.m. to 12:15 p.m. 2 hours. 2 hours where I was supposed to be absent. 2 hours he thought I would disappear. I watched him get ready. Same shower tempo, same dressing order, same fake kiss on my forehead. "I'll be home early," he said. "Maybe we can go out later." "We'll see." He didn't hear the difference. He kissed Malik. He picked up his keys. He walked out. The moment the door closed, I moved. No panic, no rush. Sequence. I took the folder from his drawer. Copies only, not originals. Insurance changes, bank freezes, forged signatures, policies, schedules, storage address, warehouse schedule, checklist. I took photos of everything with my phone, sent them to a secure drive, printed duplicates. Redundancy prevents loss. Then I grabbed the burner phone from the warehouse. The draft text, the contact name A, evidence. At 8:02 a.m., I dropped Malik at daycare. I hugged him a second longer than usual. Not emotionally, to remember his weight. Be good, I said softly. Mommy will be back soon. He nodded, focused on his toy car. He was safe. That was mandatory. At 8:37 a.m., I walked into the police station. I didn't come in crying. I didn't come in shaking. I came in carrying a bag of documents. The front desk officer looked up. Ma'am, can I help you? Yes, I said. I need to report an active, planned crime. I have evidence. He hesitated. People usually report what happened to them, not what will happen. What kind of crime? Fraud, insurance manipulation, identity theft, and likely homicide, I said. He straightened. Wait here. He disappeared through a side door. Within minutes, a detective walked out. Late 40s, sharp eyes, no wasted motion. Mrs. Carter? She asked. Yes. I'm Detective Harris. Come with me. We went into a small interview room. Table, 2 chairs, camera in the corner. I sat, placed the bag on the table, opened it. No performance. I laid everything out in organized order. You're going to want to listen without interrupting, I said. She nodded once. I started. This is my husband, I said, sliding a photo of Darius forward. He's been forging my signature, moving access to our accounts, increasing my insurance policy in his favor without my consent. He has a 2-hour window set from my disappearance today, between 10:15 a.m. to 12:15 p.m. I can show you the location he prepared. I pushed the policy papers, bank forms, forged signatures, storage photos, warehouse schedule, checklist toward her. She didn't interrupt. She scanned. Her face tightened slowly. Not doubt, focus. Where did you get these? She asked. From a locked drawer in his home office, from a storage unit illegally opened in my name, and from a warehouse he still has access to. I placed the burner phone on the table. This is their phone. Draft text to A, his mistress. The warehouse has a modified room with a chair bolted to the floor, hooks on the wall, a drain, and an installed camera. I didn't touch the camera. You can pull footage. Detective Harris looked at me differently now, not as a possible victim, as a credible witness. You're saying he intends to kill you today? I'm saying he intends to erase me. No assets, no proof of consent, no access to money. I'm worth more dead than alive to him, financially and legally. She exhaled once. We'll need to verify the warehouse first. I already have the keys. Silence. Then, why come in now? Because his schedule says tomorrow, and men like him don't move early, but they do test boundaries. I'm not giving him that option. She stared at me for a long moment. You understand that if what you're saying is true, this becomes a major operation. I understand that. That's why I brought you a complete file instead of a story. She almost smiled. Almost. By 9:12 a.m., unmarked cars were already moving toward the warehouse, not because of emotion, but because of evidence. I rode in the back of one of them, Detective Harris in the front. You'll keep my son out of this, I said. We will. He won't be touched. We'll pull him from daycare ourselves if this escalates. We parked 2 blocks away. Another team circled around the back. A third sat near the side entrance. Harris tapped her radio. You'll stay in the car. No heroics. I don't need heroics. I need documentation. By 10:03 a.m., Darius's car pulled into the parking lot. He wasn't alone. Amani sat in the passenger seat. They parked. He popped the trunk, took out 2 bags. Weight distribution, one heavier, one light. Likely tools and cleaning supplies. They walked to the door. We watched from the distance. "You getting all this?" Harris said into her radio. "Copy," came the reply. Darius opened the door with a large key. They went inside. 2 minutes later, Harris got the signal. "Inside team ready. Camera feeds live." My heart didn't race. My breathing didn't change. I already knew who he was. I just needed him to show everyone else. Harris tapped her radio. "Move." The team surrounded the warehouse. Side entrance, main door, back. No sirens, no announcements. They breached quietly. I watched the live feed on the tablet in Harris's hands. Darius and Amani stood near the table. The printed schedule was in front of them. Amani tapped the paper. "So she thinks tomorrow is normal?" she asked. Darius smirked. "He has no idea," he replied. "By this time tomorrow, she'll be out of the picture. Her accounts are locked, her insurance is set, everything will look clean." "Nothing traces back?" Amani asked. "Nothing," he said. "It'll look like she ran, or like she got into something. Either way, I'm clear. We're clear." "Clear enough for what?" a voice shouted. The entry team stepped into frame, weapons drawn. "Police," one officer yelled. "Hands where we can see them." Amani froze. Darius's eyes widened. His first instinct wasn't fear. It was confusion. He didn't understand how his timeline had failed. He looked toward the door, scanning angles. Then he looked at the table. The papers, the empty space where the burner phone had sat. He realized something. He had been early. I had been earlier. "Darius Carter, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, insurance fraud, identity theft, and attempted staging of a disappearance," Harris said as she stepped into the warehouse. I watched him on the screen. He recovered quickly. "This is a mistake," he said. "You don't understand. This is just—" "Save it for your attorney," Harris said. She nodded to the officers. They cuffed him. Amani started crying, shaking, saying she didn't know anything. The file on the table said otherwise. The burner phone logs would say more. The camera above them recorded everything, including his earlier words. I exhaled once, not from relief, from confirmation. By 11:02 a.m., they were both on their way to holding. By noon, multiple agencies were involved: financial crimes, insurance investigators, prosecutors. By 3 p.m., a warrant was served on our house. Not for me, for him. They went through his office, his devices, his accounts. Everything in that drawer became evidence. Everything in that warehouse became context. The next weeks moved fast. Darius was charged formally, so was Amani. They both tried to adjust their stories. First, it was a misunderstanding, then a rough idea, then just talk. But talk, combined with forged signatures, financial manipulation, physical prep, and a modified warehouse, wasn't just talk. It was structure. My presence at every step of the investigation was quiet, precise. I answered questions. I provided records. I never dramatized. I hired my own attorney, not because I was in danger legally, but because I had something to protect: Malik and my future. When the time came, I claimed the lottery officially, not in my husband's shadow, not through his access, through my own counsel. The ticket was verified. The win went through. A trust was formed in my name with strict legal walls. Darius had no claim to it, not as a husband, not as anything. He tried to challenge that through his lawyer. He argued marital property. He argued timing. He argued contribution. But the same evidence that proved his intent also destroyed his leverage. You can't argue for half of a fortune while sitting in court accused of planning to kill the person who owns it. The judge saw that clearly. Malik's custody went to me full. No visitation, no contact. Darius's sentence was long. Amani's was shorter, but not short. The A in the burner phone wasn't the only one, though. Investigators traced the warehouse modifications and the camera system to another name: a third party, a quiet, older man who had been consulting for Darius's company. He had done this before, not for love, for money. Their pattern was simple: identify a spouse, secure access, alter finances, remove obstacle, collect. It had worked before. It didn't work with me because I didn't respond with fear. I responded with structure. Today, I tell this story from a place Darius never imagined I'd reach: a secure home, my son safe, my accounts protected, my future intact, and $50 million worth of proof that I didn't just survive him, I outplanned him. If you stayed with me through all 6 parts of this story, you're not just a casual viewer. You're the kind of person who watches patterns, who notices details, who cares how the game is really played. If you want more stories where the victim doesn't stay soft, where the truth is uncovered with strategy, not noise, and where payback is earned, not gifted, you might want to stick around here. Drop a comment and tell me which moment changed how you saw Darius. I know mine. Hit like if you want more stories told this way: quiet, dangerous, and honest. And if you haven't already, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Not everyone gets to see behind the plan, but you just did.